welcome to another episode of Gab with Gail. Oh my gosh, I'm here with Richie the Breath Guy today. He is amazing. I met him in
Woo!
the UK. We're just going to have a chat. You guys are just going to sit here and listen to us just chat. He's got so much to say, and he's just such a brilliant guy. And when I met him in the UK, our mutual friend Anna introduced us, and we had a couple dinners together, and we just didn't want him to end. We wanted
Mm-mm.
to just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. So so we'll put his website. You guys can check him out. If you don't have his book already, you need to get it. It's brilliant. And it's available on Amazon, and he'll give you the website later. But yeah, so he and I were just talking, and I thought, let's just hit record because we were talking about how you manifest.
Mm.
How do you get out there in the world and eliminate fear and have failures, but you know what? Get up, scrape off the blood and everything that you fell down and get up and start going again. And I was just sharing with him one of my challenges. We're growing so fast as a harmonic egg company, and we need to expand in a way that might cost more money, might take more time, but if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to go. So let's pick up our conversation there. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, it's certainly been the story of my personal and professional journey in this work. And I think it's why for so many entrepreneurs, like the personal work and the individual work is so, so important, because I think that truly your business can only grow at the rate in which you're growing, which you're expanding, because it's an extension of you, right? And it's going to match your energy. So sometimes it involves taking a little leap of faith to create that extra capacity to be able to handle more, deliver more. And that might mean a little bit of an extra investment or something like that. But it's almost like as soon as you create that capacity to be able to handle more, and then you relax into that idea of, okay, now I can do more, that's just a little radio signal to the universe to say, okay, bring it on, here we go. And that's certainly been my experience, is every time I've taken that little step. I remember for me, the one massive step was hiring my first person. So hiring an assistant, for example, when you move from that one man band to, oh my gosh, now I have someone helping me out. But what's so amazing is that as soon as you do that and you're thinking, I'm paying this much money and I don't know if it's going to work, but you know, they take a weight off your shoulders, and all of a sudden more work flows in for you to be able to do what you love to do and what your gift is, what your genius is. So I'm such a big believer in that sometimes, it just takes that leap of faith in order to expand and to grow.
I thought I was busy as I could ever be, and I was running the center, and I was trying to grow the egg business. And I thought, oh, thank God, once I sell the center, I'm going to have an extra 40 hours a week. But no, as soon as
Mm.
I sold the center, all this other work started coming in that was more, rewarding. And so it's like, what was I doing with my time before? And
Mm.
then I decided, okay, now it's time for me to get rid of all the administrative tasks and hire an executive assistant. And I thought, oh, then I'm going to have more time. I still don't. It's great.
It will always fill up, but hopefully, you can be purposeful with what fills up your time,
It's more fun
more
stuff. Well,
fun, what
I
you
remember you telling me
enjoy.
because I remember seeing a book, that I was going to do a book, and I wasn't specific enough. You told me the story in the UK, how you just said, well, I want a publisher. Well, I did a self-pub, and I said, you know what, Richie, I forgot to say I wanted a publisher. I ended up self-pubbing.
Yeah.
So you had the bigger vision than I did, and it went
Yeah.
well.
I mean, that's it, like when it comes to creation and co-creation with the universe and manifesting, I always love the analogy of, going into a restaurant and taking a seat at the table, and then you have a menu there of all the things that you can have, and then the waiter comes and says, what do you want? And you just go, oh, I don't know, I haven't looked at the menu, I haven't actually been specific with anything. You just say, I want food, and who knows what you're going to get, so I think it's a bit of a funny one sometimes, though. I think it can be very important to be quite specific, but at the same time, um leaving a level of mystery as to how it happens is equally important, where you don't create an expectation, because what usually happens, and at least in my life, this is how I've experienced it, is that um, it comes to you in the strangest and most mysterious ways that you couldn't even have imagined, and it's often not until after the fact that something's happened you go, oh my gosh, wait, I was asking for that,
Yeah.
and that was part of my creation, and
Isn't that
it's
amazing?
quite nice to think about it afterwards and
Yeah.
see the humor that the universe has.
Well, it is so interesting when you ask for what you want, but you don't know how it's going to come to you. And when you look back at your life, you see how it's come to you and you thought, I didn't think that was going to happen that way.
Mm.
But that's what, something happened with me yesterday and, I was kind of beat up, kind of defeated yesterday. And then this morning I woke up with the silver lining. I'm like, well, because that now in 6 months, this, and this. Wow, that's crazy good. But yesterday I was defeated, so it was a couple hours. I thought,
Mm.
okay. And then this morning woke up with a new, vision and perspective on why that is.
That's so beautiful on actually so many different levels. So I'm going to try and remember as you were speaking, all these kind of points came into my head. So I'm going to try and remember them all. The first one being, uh, that I love that, like, last night you were defeated and it sounds like you kind of just let yourself sit in that defeat and like that was okay. And because I know I'm certainly guilty of this, is trying to find the silver lining too quickly, or trying to reframe it too quickly. Um, because quite often what happens then is that you actually start to disassociate yourself from what you're feeling and your emotion, and that is something, a recent learning of mine actually, that I have really unpacked for myself, that I'm very good at observing emotion, but actually feeling it and being in the mud and just going, I need to let this move through my body. And because, it has to move, it has to flow. That was something that I was quite good at avoiding. And it was literally in the last couple of weeks that I've had some big breakthroughs around that. And so it's finding that balance, Sure, reframe, try and, find the silver lining, find the resource out of that experience, but not at the expense of first going through the emotion itself and allowing it to sit. So that's beautiful.
Oh yeah, totally cried
Yeah.
yesterday. I showed up at the barn and I was like the first person that looks at me, I'm gonna cry. So my girlfriend comes out to me and I felt horrible because she had a little girl she was doing a lesson for and on her horse. And she walked up to me, she's how are you? And I just got the tears. And then she got the tears and this little girl's
Oh,
looking at both of these grown women crying.
she's like, did I miss something?
I
Like,
know,
what's
right?
going
So I talked to her mom
on?
like, just go. I'm like, it's fine. And so then I saw the barn manager and she walked up to me and she just like, you need a hug. And I mean,
Oh,
everybody just comes together and you just have to realize how amazing the universe is and how it's always got your back. Because the night
mm,
before, I knew this was going to be a long day yesterday, but the night before yesterday, I thought, how am I ever going to get through this day tomorrow? I knew it was going to be tough. And I went to Kava. It's a restaurant here in Westminster. And the lady says, "How are you doing?" I go, "Yeah, as it's got a couple challenging days coming up." And she's like, "Oh, okay." She's like talking a little bit. And I got to the counter and she says, we do love offerings. And today she's like, "I got you."
oh,
I'll try not to cry, but I just, at that moment, I realized the universe was sending me this message. I got chill bumps everywhere
mm,
that says, I
mm,
got your back. Whatever happens tomorrow, which was yesterday, is going to be fine. I got your back.
mm.
And the universe does. It always has your back. But you can't let failure or fear get you down.
Or you can, for to allow it to, yeah, give it its space. I think that if you'd said that maybe 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, yeah, absolutely, you can't let it get you down. But my big takeaway of the last couple of weeks of sort of unpacking some things for myself personally has been, you know what, you got to feel first, if you're feeling like crap, well, feel like crap, and just, but like very purposefully, don't wallow in it, but move into it, unpack it, do a little inquiry into that emotion for yourself, because the more that you are able to be present with it, not distract yourself from it, be truly present with it, that's what gives it the space and attention that it needs to be able to move.
Right.
um
Thank you for
and
that correction. Don't let it keep you down. How about that?
yeah, I like that. I like that one. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, I let it get me down just enough to feel it and feel into it, feel like, what was the lesson for me? How am I gonna get through this? It was perfect. It was so perfect. And it was short because I think the the veil's getting thinner, right? So
Mm.
we can process faster. We can get through things faster. We can see the silver lining faster.
And when I say feel it, it doesn't mean like, dwell on it for the next 3 weeks and feel awful and then, come up with all sorts of plans of revenge and, like, no, I think you got to think of it more like, more like a perhaps like a 3-year-old child, for example. And maybe it's a hot summer's day and they're walking down this high street with their parents and they just, mom and dad just bought them an ice cream cone and they're all happy with their life and they're walking around and all of a sudden maybe they walk past an adult and the adult knocks them and the ice cream cone falls on the ground. And what do? They just go,
Yeah.
"Ah!" Right? And they scream because the world is over to them at that point. And they'll scream and scream and scream for 30 seconds, 1 minute, however long. And they'll be letting it go, letting it out, expressing, expressing. And then all of a sudden, oh, look at the puppy. Look at the puppy, mommy, and go and play with the puppy. So it doesn't have to take long, you know,
I love that.
but
You're right.
that initial expression can be so powerful. And I think they say that for many of the challenging emotions that sometimes we get faced with, from a very neurochemical perspective, the what they call the refractory time, it's the amount of time that it stays in our body, is only about 90 seconds. So it's almost like, but what happens for most people is that because they continuously dwell on the problem, that they just constantly giving themselves new hits of these stress hormones and these chemicals that cause reactions and sensations in our body to cause us to constrict and feel bad. So if you are able to really relax into it straight away, feel into it, express it in the ways that you need to, somatically, vocally, um,
Scream.
scream. Oh my god, I've been doing some screaming over the last little while. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what my neighbors think of me at the moment, but it's been great.
Do you think that two things come up? Do you think that by us holding it longer for weeks and weeks at a time, we push it deeper into the cell memory, which keeps it with us versus screaming and letting it go?
I mean, absolutely. It's one thing about the body is that it's a habit forming machine. And once we continuously obsess over something and create that neurochemical, that endocrinological experience within us, a reaction within us, then and it gets kept there, it's going to get really good at staying there. It's like the same reason why, if you have a really stressful job, for example, and then you get to go on holiday, but for the first 4 or 5 days, you don't actually feel like you're on holiday yet. Like you can't really switch off. It's the same thing, where our bodies are so good at getting, stuck in a certain way. And if you're constantly pushing down feelings of anger, feelings of, rage, or for me, the one that came up recently was just deep, deep despair. Yeah, it just becomes an unconscious part of you that you don't realize. And it's in your cellular memory, it's in your energy, it's in your neurology, it's in the chemicals that dictate really how so much of you operates from a physiological perspective. So, on all levels of you, you are vibrating at this frequency of whatever it is that you're not letting move through you.
Well, tell us how you got through this and what was the new revelation. You want to share some details?
Course, yeah, super happy. Well, probably the highlight of the last little bit was a dear friend of mine was facilitating me through a plant medicine ceremony, um, and it was very, very powerful. Lots of different stages, but what's relevant for us today is that um, all of a sudden I started to feel a bit uneasy. I started to feel as though there was like a feeling of distrust came up in my body. Like my guard came up, and it was no longer this very intense, energetic, blissful experience. It became very dark. And so I said that my facilitator, she beautifully realized it and said, "Okay, what's going on? What are you experiencing?" So we started to unpack it, and eventually we got down to the core, or well, what I thought was the core at least. And I just said, "Oh my gosh, I feel like just this deep despair." And bless her intuition, she kind of looks at me and she goes, "Are you really feeling despair, or are you observing the fact that you are feeling despair?" Again, that just one level of separation. And I had to pause for a moment and went, "Oh my gosh, I'm observing that I'm feeling despair." And she said, "Well, what would happen if you really just let yourself go into it?" And I went, "Okay." And then just this primal roar came out of me. And, it was it was interesting combination of feeling very hard and difficult, yet very releasing at the same time. But just this sound, after the next day, she was like, "Rich, I've never heard a human being make that noise before." It just felt like it was coming not even from my root, from like underneath me. And this incredible expression of, all I could call it is maybe raw aggression. So
Mhm.
it's like a feeling of um anger and rage and betrayal and sadness and despair, and all of it kind of rolled into one. And it just went on and on and on and on and on. And then afterwards, I just felt so much lighter. And the intuition that came was that, oh my gosh, this is some really, really deep seated childhood stuff that's slowly been building up over my years. Um, and it was time for the volcano to explode. And I was in a beautiful space, and so felt so safe that I could just allow it to happen. And yeah, it's incredible. It's really, I feel significantly different. Yes.
That's amazing. Well, I interviewed Ani Williams on my last Gab with Gail, and we talk about how you can be missing a tone from your body, and missing that tone can create, physical correlates. And,
Mm.
when you were talking about that story, what I felt like you maybe replenished that tone with that roar,
Mm.
because she does a test with you on a digital tuner, and she asks you to feel what it feels like to like give it an audible feeling to the frustration, the pain, the issue, and you'll get one tone. But then when she says, okay, give me an audible response of what it would feel like if you weren't dealing with that, and you get another tone. So there's
Wow.
the and there's the ah, and you get two
Yeah.
different tones when you give her that audible. So I wonder if you were able to replenish something that maybe was missing from a trauma.
Absolutely could be. Absolutely could be. And that sounds like wonderful work that
Great.
she does. Yeah, that sounds fascinating. Um, yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure if there was a specific tone now I think about it. From what I can remember, there was certainly a range of sounds coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Um, but it was certainly an experience. And but just what was really profound about it was that it wasn't like I was trying to make the sound. It was that I was relaxing into just something that had to come out.
Yeah.
um so I had no control over it. There was no effort in doing it. It just was flowing like a waterfall out of me, which was, yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
Well, what do you think makes you different or makes you unique, that you don't let things keep you down? You don't let things paralyze you in such a way that you accept failure.
Hmm. um well, I'm not entirely sure if I'm super mega different to people out there. But I think, we're feeling beings at the end of the day, right? Like we're here to experience life in beautiful all of its beautiful dynamism, you know. And that's my natural tendency, my kind of temperament is to kind of move towards the light, you know? Like I know it's that kind of super ego message of why feel sad when you can be happy? You know, why go through pain when you can just reframe it and be joyful? Um, and I think so tapping into pain and tapping into anger has always been actually tough for me. Like, and that's not because I don't feel it, but it's because in a lot of my life I've certainly internalized it, turned it back inwards. Um, and what has been my process over the last few years has been understanding that without the dark there can't be light,
Mhm.
and that actually the being able to move gracefully between all the different emotional states is actually what it means to be uh, a human embodied, right? um, you know, I think a lot of kind of spiritual messaging practice quite often is all about this idea of ascension, because, you know, removing the ego and becoming, you know, moving into a unity consciousness, and feeling the oneness and wholeness of everything that exists. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing and a beautiful practice. And at the same time, if you also want to exist in society that we are in and really, you know, embrace what it means to be a physical human being, um, then I think a balance that you can strike between just really surrendering to the humanness of you, uh, rather than constantly trying to perhaps escape it, which I think a lot of people try and do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They try to, what was that? I read a Chinese proverb. Don't try to fly or walk on water. Try to walk on the earth. That's the harder part.
Mm,
And it was something like
yeah.
that. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah, no, I asked that question because I've been listening to this book on Audible called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon
Ooh,
Hill.
mm,
And Napoleon Hill did this interview with the proverbial devil to ask him how does he capture these people and get them to believe in him and to, you know, kind of not be high vibe. And this interview was in 1938, and his wife wouldn't
wow.
let him put it out. Well, now she's passed, and you know the estate has put it out, and I think they put it out in 2011. If you listen to it, it is so timely. It is exactly when it was supposed to come out, which is so crazy.
My gosh.
But he's talking to, it gave me a whole new reason to believe think and grow rich. Think and grow rich. If you're not a free thinker, if you let other people think for you, if you let people take over your mind, if you fall, you know, to fear and in poverty and stuff like that, then, you know, how can you grow rich? So he's basically that think and grow rich was, it gave me a whole new meaning of that title.
Mm,
And I thought it was really interesting because he says that the devil owns 98% of the people because he'll, you know, be able to get into their minds through fear, through poverty, through, you know, different, you know, ways of keeping them from thinking for themselves. And he says 2% of the population can think for themselves and he can never get into their head.
do
And
you
they have a definiteness of purpose.
Do you think that with everything that's happening in the world now, um, there seems to certainly be um, a greater polarity, um, between maybe there was like the free thinker and the one that the group that the devil has enslaved.
He calls them
Um,
drifters.
what is it,
He calls
drifters
them drifters.
and the drifters? So the free thinkers and the drifters. Um, but do you think that this shakeup, this moment of chaos, which destabilizes so many people's patterns of what they believe to be solid and true, has caused people to sort of to wake up in a sense and to start really thinking, huh, maybe what is on the surface isn't exactly what is the case.
I
What do you
think
think?
so. I think exactly true. I think a lot more people are seeing things with the with what we talked about, the veil being thinner. They're
Mm,
seeing things for what they are, and they're not so hoodwinked, if you will,
mm,
as they used to be, because the programming and the narrative is getting so strong that I think it's causing their their sense of losing power is causing them to put themselves out there in such a way that people are seeing through them now. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly, certainly. And I think it's an interesting like I think it's an interesting concept because what is probably happening for many people is that they're starting to question their survival is at stake, whether rightfully or not. But at least they interpret it as they're in danger, and there are a couple of ways that people can respond to that, and one is that of, I guess, feeling hopeless and therefore just relying on whatever external support they can get, whether that is from loved ones, family, friends, or government or corporation, or, so searching outside of themselves for things to help them feel like they have some sort of power or control or a level of certainty over their lives. Um, but then it can also push people in the opposite direction where they kind of just lose faith in a lot of the traditional structures that perhaps they thought were working for them beforehand. And they start to go, huh, well, maybe actually I can start to take my own survival, my own happiness, my own future into my own hands. Maybe I have the power to do that because everything else has failed me. And that's where it gets really exciting. And that's why I love breath work, right? Because breath is, as a form of self-healing, is it's using something that you already have within you to work with yourself to hopefully create some profound transformation. Um, no magic pills, no magic potions. They're all there if you want to experiment, but the breath is all about sovereignty.
Maybe a magic egg here and there.
Oh, a magic egg. Yeah, that's it. We can all find the useful bits and bobs that help in our own development and our own
I will
healing, right?
tell you that I have seen more and more people leaving their jobs now, or they were forced to
Yes.
leave their job because of COVID, and they're starting their own businesses. And that's how I think for America, we were brought up on the American dream and entrepreneurs. And so I'm hoping we're going to go back to that where people start taking the responsibility back to themselves. And it's a beautiful thing. And as far as breath work goes, I will tell you that I said it at the beginning, you need to get this book, but
Mm,
I get a lot of headaches from food.
mm.
I think it's some natural flavoring. There's a natural flavoring out there that gives me the headache. Your breath work exercise on headaches and migraines has worked for me every time.
Hey, there we go. See, just a
Yeah,
bit of breathing, no problem.
yeah.
Can be as
I
easy as that
Blending the
sometimes.
color, the whole
Mm,
exercise. And I actually, my sister was here with my nephew who's 8, and my sister had a little bit of a headache. I think just stress and travel, dehydration at altitude.
mm.
It came from sea level. And I asked my 8-year-old to read that exercise to her, and it was so cute. He was reading it. He's like, "Mama, you lay right here. I'm going to read this to you." And yeah, so he walked her through that. It was very cute.
Oh, what a beautiful moment. Oh, that's so gorgeous. And that's what's great about breathing and breath work is that even an 8-year-old can get it and make sense intuitively for them. So, oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So, well, how can people find you if they're looking for you on the internet?
So thebreathguy.com is my website. The Breath Guy on Instagram is the social that I'm most active on these days. And yeah, that's kind of it. I have, a lot of stuff online. I have an app if you're interested in that. It's called Flourish, where I have a lot of recorded content and various recorded live streams that I've done in the past. So it's like a giant library of all the different breathwork sessions I've done. But you can find out about that on my website, so thebreathguy.com. Info is on the book is there as well. You know, I think when it comes to breath work, you can talk about it all you want, but just like what you shared with your own experience, experience is understanding. And so just start to have a bit of a play with your own breath, just and see what little inquiry or journey it might start for you.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. So appreciate you. Wanted people to know who you are. I know a lot of people already know, but I want to put more high vibe and people out there in the
Mm.
mainstream. And yeah, I just really feel like I connected so deeply with you. And I know you're gonna be
Likewise.
traveling soon, so, safe travels to you and, sending you lots of love.
Thank you so much, Gail. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, hopefully I'll come and see you soon if travel permits it in this crazy world.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye.